Okay, so we have gone out and we have modified and we have achieved our goals. We've cut down that magazine box, and I'm going to go ahead and assemble it. For all of you who are not kind of into this stuff, this might get kind of nerdy, so you might want to go somewhere else. I'll get this set up for, I'm going to go down, I'm not going to go all the way down like I normally do, but I'm going to go down where I can show you some of the moves that we made in making this thing work. First of all, we've cut the magazine box down, and we've put some contours into it that weren't there before. We've had to notch out the rear portion so that it fits down in correctly to the bottom metal. We've left the front alone. I may end up polishing this a little bit. We've got the flat follower in there now, and that seems to be working quite well. We've taken, I'll true this up later, but for right now I've just taken some cheap pliers, and I need to adjust this one right here just a fuzz lick anyway. And all we do is just give that a little tweak. Need to give this a little tweak back because and what happens now is the cartridge case comes up there and it sits the way we want it to. So now as I'm talking, I'm going to start putting this stuff together because it's not, this is why I said this is kind of the nerdy part. If you don't like watching gun assembly and disassembly videos, you might want to just go watch something else for a while. I have taped these up to make them a little easier, but regardless, this takes a minute. Okay, come on down here, baby. Should be able to get this down to where it'll pinch in there, which I did. And this is kind of to show that I've got some clearance. This should pinch in there also. Again, illustrating that I've got some clearance to the magazine box. So the magazine box is in there and it's not interfering with any of the other stuff. And we spin this up quick. Won't take too terribly long, I hope, if I can find my holes. Put a little, okay, there, I got my hole. Get this hole lined up. We'll be inserting, there we go. Okay, so now we've got her bolted together, and the magazine box has a little bit of that necessary play that I told you about. And this is now dummied up. So, at the risk of boring you with too much information, now we take a couple of these, what I called action proving dummies here a little bit ago. Whoops, a couple of different sizes. Throw them in. Now there are some things, well, first of all, let's just show you that it works. It works because there is no barrel on here, there is no, but they're coming out the center. They're feeding correctly, and when I get a barrel dummied on there, then we'll be able to see better that they are feeding correctly. But they're coming out dead center, then they're just falling off. So that part is taken care of. Now, the things that we had to do, in fact, I'm going to undummy this thing again, just so I can show you a few of the things to bear in mind. When you're doing this sort of thing, understand that nothing lines up. Ever. That's just the nature of the beast. I had to cut some contours into here to get things to clean up and to fit. Again, I set this so that the cartridge cases come up with a mild pressure on them and they sit just that way, just the way I want them in there. These are adjustable feed lifts. But the biggest thing was that fitting this took more heartache than I expected. The biggest thing is that it has to drop down and go into its recess down here. When I first started trying, I had to shorten the bottom. See if this will come apart quickly, and I can show you what I had to do for modifications on here. I had to shorten this end quite a bit so that this drives in. First I had to narrow it so that it fits into the bottom metal itself. And once it's going nicely into the bottom metal, then this front portion up here was so long that it left this back here against the back more. See if I can, I didn't plan on any of this stuff, so I'll see if this works or not. With it back there, the first thing that you'll notice is when you try to bring this down, it doesn't, it misses. And the first time I did it, I had it back at the factory setting, which is right here, and it comes down and it hits, so I just forced it forward. The problem was, I forced it forward from the bottom. I forced it closed, and it actually bent this. You can see that this right here needs to be fixed, and I will fix it shortly. But for right now, well, I might be able to fix it now that I've got it dummied into the action. Okay, so there, the bulge is out of it. But suffice it to say that you've got to do a lot of hand fitting until this drops. Right now, this was basically the factory fitting. It doesn't drop down in there, so it has to be, it's all compressed, and then it has to force forward. Now it forces forward by sliding, so now when I try to force it, it doesn't bend these, but it started by collapsing that. Now, as I go straight down, it settles into its recess perfectly, and consequently, it feeds cartridges up perfectly. So to all intents and purposes, this is now ready for the next phase. I'm not going to do anything else with this until we have a reamer and whatever, but I wanted to make sure that it would in fact fit and feed these dummy cartridges at the length that I wanted, because I wanted to check this freebore mess. I wanted to make sure that this freebore thing was working, and it seems as though it is. So I don't have to call Kiff all in a panic and say, hey dude, we screwed up. I screwed up that reamer. We need to fix it. So now we can proceed as we were going to before. I'm going to put these parts back in again. But I thought it was worthwhile to just show you some of the things that you have to be thinking about when you do this. One of the things that you'll want to be thinking about is never try and muck this stuff together on camera while you're talking, because that just gives you nothing but pain and agony. But I'm doing it a little bit anyway, just because I wanted to explain why I feel that it's important to bore you with these things that can be called details, because I have in the past, when I first started putting guns together, I would slap something together and go to form function test it, and it don't form function test correctly. And that's a frustrating place to be, but not all that uncommon. Here now, I've learned how to cut off some of these problems at the pass. So now I'll try some of these long bullets in here. Whoops, could have the bolt closed. Otherwise things go seriously silly and sideways. Here we go with the long ones. Same thing. We've got these big old honking long dogs, so I don't have to play with. We've managed to get the fit and finish, the taper, the pitches that we want. We can hold 2 down of these big cartridges. That big old monster long. Again, remember, flat out we are maximizing this assembly. We're getting all that can be gotten out of the 30 or the 300 Norma case by first of all starting with the 338 Norma case, necking down a nice play with focus a little bit here so that you can see what I'm talking about. Necking down a nice resizing shoulder, and I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm trying to be clear on what I'm doing. So we now have a shoulder right here to headspace against, so that this whole area can just balloon out hugely. We got a nice long projectile. Notice that I had to use a long action for this, because even though it's a fairly short cartridge, we're back to balls to the walls, flat out, maximizing the system. And the way this works, oh, there's one of the things I know. I've been chattering away here, waiting to key on what it was that I wanted to show you. And that is that the freebore was set initially, I forgot to say this earlier, by the fact that this is not the bullet we're going to use, but this is where this bullet sits. You can see that it's going to end up with the boat tail just below. Now the bullet that we are going to use, the bullet that we have set up for, is this bullet marked hunting bullet, and it sits in there such that the boat tail comes right to this focus is kind of silly, but I'm sorry, I'm not a very good camera guy. Anyway, suffice it to say that this bullet, see if I can get it in the camera this direction, nets out, sorry if this is kludgy, like that, so that the boat tail goes right to the neck shoulder junction. All of this stuff was planned from the start, and it's kind of why I'm sharing it all with you, is that without proper planning, you get poor execution in the end. And so we're trying to show the planning steps, so that now I feel strongly that we've got a situation here where the cartridges fit, the cartridges feed. I'm going to go mock this up into the stock now and play with this. I might put a trigger on it and time it, and then we're basically done until the reamer gets here. There's not a whole lot that we can do anymore. It's going to take a while. PTG is fast, KIF is fast. I expect a reamer fairly quickly because I give them easy and clear instructions. So I wanted to show you the way that I do that. Easy, clear, incontrovertible, crisp. It goes into the tube, it pops out the other end, and David will never hear from me again. Except to call maybe and say, I screwed up that reamer, let's do another one and modificate it. It never gets blamed on him. I think this is important in the business world, anywhere in the business world. I think it's important that we understand that we make mistakes. And if we quit flailing around and blaming them on other people, life gets a whole lot easier. So I don't flail around and blame anybody. I took these measurements, I documented them right here on the YouTube. You can see my screw-ups or my successes or whatever. This is how we're going through and doing this thing. Again, shit out us. It might be calling this episode 5.3 or something, because we're working our way through this, specking out the initial fits and feeds of the Weatherby parts mixed with the Sunny Hill parts mixed with the Stolly Atlas parts, and implementing a case that's never been explored this way before. This particular iteration is brand new. I'm sure somebody out there has got other Ackley improves and other maybe even 35-degree improved 300 Normas that are up and running and working, but I don't have that, so that's why I'm going through and documenting all the measures I'm taking, so that if any one of you comes up with some monster of a cartridge or minimal of a cartridge or perfect of a cartridge or something that you want to do, maybe this will help lead you down the path of how to do it without bollocksing it all up. So, again, we should be done now with this fit and finish thing. Next time you see this, we should be, who knows, reamering maybe. I don't know, it's going to be a while.